the NS band yet. I'm the commanding officer of 431 Air Demonstration Squadron. So this building has been designated to the snowbirds basically since 71. This is where our day-to-day operations happens out of here.
So have you had a chance to go up in one of the snowbirds before?
Yeah, a couple of years ago when I was mayor, I went on a media day, and it was an absolute scream. I kind of felt like Top Gun. It's just, it was an adrenaline rush.
Can we hop into one of the ones here in the hangar right now?
We do have an airplane that is set up for people to be able to sit in, where the ejection seat has been, well, it won't go off, so you don't have anything to worry about when you get in the cockpit.
Let's go in.
Okay.
Very cool.
Obviously, this is your yoke. Obviously, you push forward, cows get bigger, pull back, cows get smaller. This is your throttle. These are your rudder pedals, and then when you push forward, that's your brakes.
How does it feel sitting in a cockpit?
Feels like home. I miss it. People ask me, do you miss being in the Air Force? I think one of the things that is obviously the flying, but you can do that anywhere. But really, it's the camaraderie that you have. That's the thing that I miss the most is the camaraderie and the friendships that you have.
Conservative MP Fraser told me. Well, snowbirds and fighter jets weren't the only airborne vessels the House encountered this summer while visiting MPs. The Bloc Québécoise Christine Normandin took the House's Jennifer Chevalier to a large grassy field where hot air balloons were taken to the skies. Normandin represents the riding of Saint-Jean, where they have an annual hot air balloon festival, the second largest in North America.
We haven't been lucky, unfortunately, so far with the festival. There's only been one day where we could have the balloons in the air because it has to be sunny enough, it has to be not raining, we have to have no risk of thunder anywhere near, so conditions have to be kind of perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah. So there's always hope. Every night we hope that we get the green flag from the Balloon Meister, but unfortunately we haven't been lucky this year.
Hi. Are you the pilot here?
Yes,
Do you think you're going to be able to go up tonight?
I'm positive because I'm from the region here and it's used to come down after when the sun comes down. So I'm positive, but the real boss is Mother Nature, so we'll see.
If there's a green flag, they'll just all start all together. It's a really gorgeous ballet when you see that happening. As soon as they get the go, boom. And the more you use the burner, the more the balloon's ready to take off, and as soon as it's ready, they just untie it and it takes off.
And that's it. They're up and they're away.
Yeah, and not to land until a good hour and a half.
It's so beautiful.
It is. And I remember that as a kid. It was gorgeous. And I still feel the same excitement seeing balloons, even though it's been like 40 years since we had the festival. It's really a nice sight.
We are watching about 8 hot air balloons just lifting off into this beautiful blue summer evening sky. A strange about turn to now talk to you about the state of democracy. But we're asking all of the MPs that we're seeing this summer what they think about the state of democracy in Canada right now. And I wonder if you have any concerns.
I think we see maybe a turn with social media mostly. It's hard to have a healthy debate when there's so much disinformation online and people being in echo chambers, not having real from the ground information, and with having sometimes just a few second clips to explain something. It's hard to get deep into debates with real arguments. We're so much in a instant world, and the news changes so fast that it's hard to have a healthy debate. So it maybe doesn't look as good as it should with regards to democracy, because it's hard to really make up your mind with good arguments, and it's easier to just get caught up in something that's going really fast on social media and instant news and not have a full picture of what's happening. And I don't think it's good for democracy.
So if you have these concerns, is there anything you personally have done to
bolster our democracy in any way?
I often do meetings in parks. In the riding, I go from door to door, put signs indoors saying I will be in the park, whatever date, and so people can come and ask me questions. And I also try to be on the ground as much as I can. So when there's events like the festival we are at right now, people that have concerns, they can come to me and talk to me, and it gives them an opportunity to do so when they wouldn't maybe have taken up the phone and call me or come to the office. So it's trying to build relationships from one to one. And a thing I try to do as well, when I get something, a bad comment on my social media, I try to contact the person directly when, for example, they rant about something and I see that they have a bad conception of whatever information. I try to call them or write to them and see if I can have a conversation with them. And
Do you think you can change people one by one like that?
it's hard, but I try to. And if you change one person, maybe they will have a good word afterwards and maybe have other people changing. It's energy, energy taking, but when it works, you feel like you might have made a difference in a way. And I try to do that as much as I can. When I get a bad comment, I write to the person, and most of the time, it's just because, well, first of all, they didn't realize that someone was behind receiving the hate message that they sent, and they feel bad. Most of the time, they apologize, and sometimes they become your biggest fans afterwards. So they are multipliers for a different message. I think we will have to think about policies on social media at some point, and we're already trying to defeat what's happening with Meta, cutting up real information, real journalism. If we don't fight for that, it's going to have bigger negative impacts. It's going to have an effect on democracy for sure.
Now, those wider effects of social media raised by Bloc MP Christine Normandin, we're going to come back to that in a few minutes. But for now, on this special edition of the House visiting backbenchers in their backyards, we're going to stay in Quebec and head up to a riding on the western edge of Montreal. I met Liberal MP Samir Zubiri for lunch at one of his favorite kebab restaurants in Pierrefonds-Dollard.
We'll get 1 cheeseburger, 2 soups, and 1 pizza.
Thank you. So can I get the mixed plate with the lamb kebabs, please? Okay, thank you. One of the things that stood out to me when I was looking at your political career is you put forward a couple of motions that in one case it was to recognize the genocide of the Romani people during World War II, and then also you have this more recent motion that has to do with Canada taking in members of the weaker population, which is a contemporary thing, a project that's supposed to start next year. Can you start by telling me why you've made a point of making those personal issues for yourself?
That's a great question. And personally, I care deeply about oppression. And so sometimes we'll ask, how many Romani or how many Uyghur do you have in your riding? And my answer is, very few, if any. It's not about this. It's about addressing oppression and really confronting it as much as we can, whenever possible.
Do you see yourself as someone who has to put pressure on the government?
This is an interesting space to be in. As somebody who has been an advocate for 20 years, it's kind of a bit of a delicate dance where you are applying pressure, putting pressure onto your own colleagues who are actually part of government, ministers, parliamentary secretaries, etc. Putting pressure there. But I'm not part of the government in a sense of, I'm not one of those deciders at that table involved in drafting an immigration pathway program. I don't press civil servants so that they actually do it. That's not my job. My job is to advocate from within my party, within the governing party.
Is that an uncomfortable role?
It's a unique position to be in. I don't think it's uncomfortable per se, but it's a unique position to be in. Because when you're on the outside, you can push, pull fiercely. On the inside, not to say that you don't continue to push and pull firmly, but the way in which you do so is different. So it's a particular style that one has to hone in, that you remain an advocate, but the sharpness, maybe it's different. The blunt approach is not the way to go. That's something that one might want to consider on the outside, but on the inside, it doesn't work. It doesn't move files forward.
Okay, we are here, Dollard des Ormeaux Civic Center, and Zuberi?
We're here because this is an important center for part of the riding, and there's so many activities here for families, from skating, swimming, a library, hockey, an art gallery, and city halls here too.
Let's go check it out.
We'll check out the library. The library here has been recently refurbished, renovated, and it was already amazing before. Quite a serene space. I used to work in a library. I love shelving. It's super zen, just shelving books. And it's like, through the Dewey Decimal System, putting books where they belong. I do think there needs to be a bit of a rethink in terms of how we are getting our information. It shouldn't be all through an algorithm that somebody else chooses. We remain in our echo chambers as a result of that. It's critical that we are really shown ideas and exposed to ideas we might be uncomfortable with. And we should be able to handle that level of discomfort and not to just get information that is echoing what we already believe or think.
So, accepting diversity of opinion, but also reconnecting with one another.
Certainly, 100%. And that's one of the interesting things about being a member of parliament, is that you actually have so many different ideas, opinions coming your way. And one has to really listen and take a moment to actually walk a mile in somebody else's shoes. That's very different from a private citizen. Private citizen, we don't have to do that. We can live our lives with our family, friends, our social circle, and choose not to engage with different ideas. But in my role today, it's an absolute necessity and requirement that I do engage with many different ideas and synthesize them to produce the best possible one from them.
Getting information from an algorithm, as Liberal MP Samir Zuberi talked about there, and spending more and more time on our smartphones is an issue Stephen Ellis has thought a lot about. These days, he is the Conservative MP for the Nova Scotia riding of Cumberland-Colchester, but Ellis used to be a family doctor, often paying close attention to mental health issues. CBC producer Mary Catherine McIntosh joined him for a nature walk, something he used to recommend to his patients.
This sounds like I'm an old man, and maybe I am, but if I could get rid of one thing in society, it would be the cell phone. It is a communication device which has reduced our ability to communicate and socially isolated us. Sadly, I use two of them every day.
Definitely. And you go on, if you're spending your life on Facebook, you get a pretty warped sense of what people are thinking.
Well, it has become an integral part of my life because of the fact that we don't have a daily paper here anymore. Even the radio stations are often broadcast from elsewhere, especially